Good morning, good afternoon, wherever this finds you. Welcome to the 65th Emerging Growth Conference and day one of our two-day Super Virtual Investor Conference. I'm Anna Berry. Just a few notes. So today we'll be running until about 4:30 Eastern Time. Remember, when we switch to the next company, you're going to see a black screen for a moment, but don't go anywhere. That's just us moving over to the next presenter. If you do experience downtime, refresh your browser. Everything usually works properly once you do that. Now, our platform does work best on Google Chrome. So if you're watching from an Apple device, you have to hit the play button to start the session. Now, all of our conferences are uploaded to the Emerging Growth Conference YouTube channel. We would love for you to subscribe, youtube.com/Emerging Growth Conference. Now, today, during each company's presentation, you, our viewers, can submit questions through the webcast module, and we will attempt to address as many of these as possible at the end of the presentation. Let's begin, starting with ATRenew Inc. It trades on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol RERE and operates a leading technology-driven pre-owned consumer electronics transactions and services platform in China. Happy to welcome to the conference the Investor Relations Manager, Jessie Jin. Welcome, Jessie. How are you today?
Great. Thanks, Anna, for the introduction. It's very comprehensive overview of the company already, but I'm going to add up more color regarding our business model and financial status. Yep. Thank you, Anna. So in terms of the introduction of our company, I'm trying to share a slide of the presentation on your screen. So thanks everyone for joining this setup meeting. So as Anna mentioned, that ATRenew is the largest pre-owned consumer electronics transaction and services provider in China. And the company has already owned like 10% of market share here in terms of transaction value and number of transactions annually. So I'm the presenter today, Jessie, and I'm going to give you an overview of the company's long-term mission towards to give a second life to all idle goods. So the company was founded in 2011 in Shanghai, and our headquarters is currently based here. And we have a global international headquarters based in Hong Kong to support the global transactions as well. So our foundation was to support the transaction and recycle of the used consumer electronics. As we gradually evolve in China, we've set up a breakthrough in terms of recycling categories. And since last year, since June 2022, we started off with recycling luxury goods, gold, watches, etc., to support the need for Chinese consumers' prudent consumption behaviors, as well as the intention to dispose their unwanted stuff for cash. And along the pathway that we are trying to support more product categories for Chinese consumers and for international consumers alike to realize our mission to give a second life to all idle goods. In terms of our evolution, as I mentioned, we started off in 2011 to support the consumers' demand for green disposal of their unwanted electronics. And then in 2014, we set up the first physical store in Shanghai to deliver face-to-face fulfillment and to leverage our physical fulfillment capabilities to in the measure of face-to-face interaction by our store staff to support communication with consumers, so that the face-to-face delivery is the concern of data security and privacy leak, as we tried to we invested into technology capabilities to establish our own proprietary data wiping technologies, so that people can sell their unwanted electronics free of concern for data and privacy leaking. Through the years, we've established a total of 2,000 physical stores nationwide, covering 270 cities in China. So the immersed offline coverage supports the face-to-face fulfillment for consumers. And our stores are located in central commercial areas in each city so that people can visit the stores offline and to enjoy the experiences seamlessly, especially when they are trying to sell the used devices and trying to trade in for something when they are trying to buy something new. And in 2011, with the accumulated data and transactions that we supported on the consumer side, we established a PJT marketplace, a B2B transaction offering that supports the transactions among 500,000 merchant users across the nation. So in terms of transaction, in terms of the B2B transactions, we are the largest in terms of volume and total transaction value. And through the through the transaction activities and the standards that we established for the pre-owned consumer electronics industry, that we accumulate our own technology, inspection technologies, and establish our operation centers across China and mainland China and Hong Kong. So as of now, there are 8 operation centers across these markets, and 2 of them are already automated. And we, through these operation centers, we were able to support like 32 million transactions per year, and that's the largest. And that number makes us the largest player in Chinese market. And in 2019, we acquired Paipai Marketplace from the largest e-commerce player, JD.com in China, so as to establish a complete value chain coverage from the consumers who have the recycling need, and to the B2B transaction users, and then covering the end consumer users. As I mentioned, that we have a headquarters in Hong Kong as well to support the international transactions of pre-owned electronics, and that headquarters was established in 2022. And we leveraged our technology capabilities and standards accumulated in China, mainland China, and try to empower our business partners in Japan and Sweden right now. And also, we are trying to leverage the headquarters and communication capabilities established in Hong Kong to support OEMs communication, namely Apple, to further tighten our strategic relationships in Chinese market, as well as to seek further expansion in international market. So to give you a clearer picture of our physical stores, these pictures are the demonstration of how a typical AHS store looks like in China. And AHS, our brand, stands for I Love Recycling. The Chinese brand encourages more people to come to our stores to try out trading and recycling services, and to experience the green consumption lifestyle. So as I mentioned, we are trying to accumulate more capabilities on our own physical stores, and that's where the 2,000 store network is where the starting point for us to further leverage, to further support the need of consumers when they have the need to sell their used bags or watches, like a Louis Vuitton or a Cartier watch. They can come to our store for cashback. And here's a demonstration of our automated operation center that we established in Changzhou in Eastern China and Dongguan in South China. And for the second generation automated operation facility that we established in Dongguan, supports a daily capacity of 120,000 devices per 8 hours. So that's how we try to establish the economy of scale. And the unmanned shunting inspection and traffic system storage system allows our successful reduction of labor costs and manpower, and especially when it comes to the automated inspection system that's in the right corner of this slide, that you can see the entire system allows us to have an unmanned inspection process that reduces human inspection error, and we don't have to tear up a device to check whether the main board or the battery has been replaced. So typically, a phone comes to this system, and the boxes just automatically check the exterior, the functions, whether there's any dents or scratch in the screen, or whether the battery has been replaced, and how the mainboard is performing, and to check the memory of the device. So as a result, the automated checking facility minimizes the inspection errors. And as a result, we observed a lessened return losses from inspection errors. And through such system, we are able to further downsizing our fulfillment expenses as a percentage of total revenues, which I will elaborate in the next slides. Oh, oops. So as I mentioned before, we have consumer-facing capabilities that established in our stores. And the AHS Recycle consumer-facing brand also has its own website and web app. And we are also trying to establish more partnerships with brand owners as well as e-commerce players, so that people can have diversified access to our services. And we are also we are also opening up our supply chain capabilities to registered merchants across China. And you can tell that there are approximately 80,000 devices coming into our operation facilities every day. And these devices get graded, inspected, graded, and priced. And through a fast turnover, those devices can be further distributed to Paipai Marketplace if the device is in better condition and quality. And those devices can be sold at a higher price with a higher margin. And for devices with in lower condition or that are in poor condition, the devices will be circulated through PJT Marketplace, through wholesale, or distribute to small merchants. So both marketplaces support and meet the demand of consumer retail users on e-commerce platforms, on our new channels or sales channels, and also these PJT Marketplace also fulfill the procurement demand of resellers in local markets. And as we open up our supply chain and inspection capabilities, mom and pop stores, also small merchants or retail sellers in lower tier cities can enjoy the inspection capability and technologies. An overview of the financial and operational highlights that we are still enjoying a very fast growth track, even though that consumption growth, the consumer markets are having a slowed down growth rate in China right now. So we believe that the circular economy is still on its rising trend, as our total revenues increased about 32% year over year for the trailing 12 months. And we are profit making under non-GAAP measures. So our non-GAAP operating income has accumulated over 170 million RMB over the past 12 months, which is faster and higher than our previous expectations. As we have sufficient cash and cash equivalents on hand, we're trying to purchase more shares to encourage our shareholders' interest. And as of the most recent financial quarter, which is September 30th, we have reported about 2,000 stores, like I mentioned, in over 270 cities in China, which is a strong physical store network to support the consumers' demand here. With this kind of continued growth momentum and our strong profitability, that we are seeing higher growth rates compared to the COVID eras. And also we are widening our operating margins through multiple measures. So obviously we can see that there are improvements under our non-GAAP operating expenses. So the non-GAAP fulfillment expenses and selling and marketing expenses as a percentage of total revenue has been downsizing over the past quarters since the beginning of 2021. And we are trying to further decrease the fulfillment expenses ratio as a percentage of total revenues by increasing our automation efficiency released by the operating facilities. And we are trying to be more prudent in terms of selling and marketing actions, while leveraging our in-house capability to attract more users through live streaming channels. And as for G&A and R&D expenses, we are seeing a very flat expense ratio, and we are trying to keep that as flat as possible. So here's an overview of our strategy. I'm trying to keep it brief. We are trying to capture more precise scenarios for consumers to recycle and trade in their used devices and used consumer products. For instance, we try to encourage more. We try to set up more stores offline for consumers to come to our stores directly, and we are tighten our relationship with JD.com, the largest e-commerce player in China, as that's the most precise scenario for consumers to look for new electronics products. And we are getting more close to Apple in mainland China, as we are the second recycling and trading service provider for Apple's flagship stores and its official website. So through these scenarios, we will capture the traffic precisely to attract more consumers and recycling volume. As for more categories, we see a natural traffic coming to our stores, to our AHS Recycle brand, that consumer has a stronger demand for selling their idle devices and selling high residual value products for cash. So we will try to leverage our store network to fulfill the need and get more consumers satisfied for coming back for recycling their used devices. As for improved cost efficiency, I have just mentioned that the non-GAAP fulfillment expenses as a percentage of net revenues has been downsizing, and we will try to further downsize that percentage by leveraging our tech operational capabilities. So the two automated facilities in China right now covers the 40% of our total total inspection orders. We are trying to seek more optimized allocation of orders so that more parcels will come to these two operation centers for inspection. And thus, as a result, we can further downsize inspection errors and increase inspection efficiencies so that this kind of fulfillment costs and including logistics expenses will be further downsized. As for the fourth point, that is the backdrop is that China has issued some guidelines regarding compliant refurbishment in terms of consumer electronics in April 2022. After that, players like us are able to leverage third-party or authorized parts and components to refurbish consumer electronics, and the brand owners are okay with that because they have also participated in making such guidelines. And the refurbished devices have 4 points of higher margin in terms of gross margin. So we're trying to increase the proportion of distributing refurbished devices so as to achieve a higher profit margin from this kind of self-sourced devices. The last but not least, I wanted to mention something about our ESG initiatives. So many people are aware that circulating pre-owned electronics is naturally environmental friendly, but we are trying to quantify those achievements in terms of environmental protection. In addition to those, we've got ISO EMS certification, which is further improving our capability in terms of environmental protection. And we have quantified our Scope 1 and 2 greenhouse gas emission intensity, and that number has been downsizing since 2022, which is very promising in the near future. As in addition to those environmental performances, we also secured our ESG low ESG risk rating by Sustainalytics, proving the capability and stability of our business model as well as corporate governance. And we are continuously improving our board structure and top-down governance to ensure that investors are facing less ESG risks from our side. Also, we've just become a signatory of the UNGC in September. So yeah, that's pretty much about us. We are trying to circulate more pre-owned electronics devices as well as consumer goods, so that a prolonged life cycle can support a sustainable development and consumption behaviors. Yeah, that's pretty much about my presentation. Anna, I'm open to questions.
Great job, Jessie. Yes, we do have some questions for you. I want you to start with a breakdown of your product category, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so in terms of overall transactions across our platform, we previously announced that there has been approximately 3.7 billion RMB that has been transacted in terms of transaction value over 2022. Sorry, I think the number should be, yes, that's a correct number. And 70% of our total transactions are smartphones, and 15% are laptops, and there are 7% of them are tablets, and the rest of them are consumer electronics, including wearables like drones and small white appliances, and also there are increasing percent of like luxury goods, like I mentioned. So we're seeing a little bit diversification in terms of product categories, but the majority of them remains to be smartphones.
And talk a little bit about the products you recycle. Randy McCarthy wants to know, what is your cost on them? And what do you turn them into? Are they new products? Do you sell the raw recycled materials? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, for the refurbishment business I mentioned, so we're trying to recycle more products directly from consumers. And that's the most in the entire value chain, where the entire value chain started. And we are leveraging our operational capabilities to replace some scratched, to replace some broken screens, to replace some batteries that are not performing well. And also we're trying to further advance our capabilities to change the broken lenses, etc. And for instance, if a device hasn't been refurbished, we can sell it with like 20 or 19% of gross margin. But if the device has been refurbished, we can sell it for like 23 or 24% of gross margin. And that's where we further widen our gross margin through refurbished business. And it's also important to us because the refurbished devices are more feasible for the use of consumers, instead of for like small business owners to bid for and then to maintain or sell it for wholesale. So the value of the consumer electronics after refurbished is further increased and advanced. So the second life of their devices can be, empowered with higher value.
Fascinating. With that, we have a question from Anthony Fitzgerald. He wants to know, how many devices can your machines process per day or per hour? Specifically, what percentage of the 80,000 devices coming in every day go to the more premium markets as well?
To answer that question, for overall, I mean, we would take that into a quarterly or annually discussion because for 80,000 devices are that the numbers that we count for, we can't go into the operation centers. And for the automated inspection facilities in 2 of our operation centers, the operation facility has a capacity of holding, actual capacity of holding like 40% of the total devices that are coming into our systems. As for the theoretical capacity of these facilities, I think the overall capacity for 8-hour shift for these 2 facilities totaled 20,000.
And how many?
Day.
Yeah, and so how many devices can your machines process? Is it per day, you said?
Per day, yes, that's per day. 20,000.
20,000 per day. And Crystal Edwards wants to know what percentage of your business is to consumers and what percentage is to businesses? And can you talk a little bit about your growth rate of each?
Okay, so in terms of revenue contribution, our self-operated business, which is booked under product revenue, that accounts for 90% of our total revenues. And the service revenue is coming from supporting the transactions between merchant users, that accounts for like 10% of our total revenues. If zooming into the self-operated business of the product revenues, that 20% of them are coming from to consumer distribution, retail businesses, and 80 of them are from like wholesale to business distributions.
Great, thank you for that. Stacy Mason wants to know a little bit more about the JD.com. Can you recap what it was that you acquired from them, and how important and relevant was this acquisition? What does it do for you specifically?
Okay, it's a very good question. So the background is JD is the largest online e-commerce player in China, and 60% of these online retail sales are coming from consumer electronics and home appliances. And we acquired PaiPai Marketplace from JD.com in 2019, as PaiPai is a B2C marketplace for pre-owned consumer goods. And before acquiring PaiPai, we have our own C2B, consumer to business recycling offerings already, and we have a B2B transactions marketplace already. So merging PaiPai Marketplace is a point for us to establish our C2B plus B2B and B2C, a closed loop of the entire pre-owned transactional value chain. So that step was very crucial to us for forming a closed end supply chain from the end recyclers to the end users.
Mm-hmm. Jessie, can you talk a little bit about the secondhand economy in China? What's the outlook for it?
I think consumers are being more prudent right now, especially when you are seeing not so good economic development this year and next. So more people, especially the younger generation, are more open to buying something pre-owned. This consumption behavior is getting more similar to what happened in Japan like 20 or 30 years ago. So more people are coming to our stores, coming to our website, or coming to or go to JD.com for selling their used stuff. And especially our service, AHS Recycle Service, is the exclusive recycle and trade-in service partner for JD.com in terms of consumer electronics. And when people are trying to buy a new iPhone, for instance, and we support them we support the trading solution on JD.com, Apple.com, so that consumers can buy a new device while recycling an old device, and what they just need to do is just to pay the price gap. So they can just like pay 2,000 RMB for something new, for a brand new iPhone 15 lineup. So that's that's a good deal for these consumers, and they can buy something of high quality pre-owned products from Paipai Marketplace, and we provide 7-day free return, and we also provide them with 1 year after sales quality warranty, so that people can buy some pre-owned good and have the value for money experience, and have the experience of same as buying something new. So as the offerings and solutions are improving and diversifying, we can definitely see that the consumption behavior, especially for the younger generation, is more open up. They have more open-minded to the pre-owned industry.
I can see the value in that. I definitely support pre-owned objects. So I want you to close with a little bit of what we can expect in fiscal year 2024. Talk a little bit about top line profitability. Just give us a nice closing of what you see in the near future.
Yeah. So what we see in the near future is that the secondhand economy will have its unique growth engine, especially in China. And we see our partnership with EC players are strengthening, and our relationship with brand owners are also improving, especially with Apple. So in terms of top line, we are seeing a 30%. We are expecting approximately 30% in terms of year-on-year growth. So that's very fascinating compared to like 10-ish or 20-ish percentage growth points compared to other retailers or internet companies in China. In terms of profitability, that we have. We have been expecting like a 1.5% of non-GAAP operating margin, but we see that result for 9 months accumulated this year has surpassed that. So we are quite confident with our target earlier this year, and potentially surpass that. And through adding more value through refurbished business and the margin that we can acquire through expanding this business, as well as our automation technology capabilities for downsizing the fulfillment expenses, we see there's a 1 percentage point growth potential in non-GAAP OP margin next year.
Well, fascinating time to be in this industry, and much needed for all of us in the earth. So thank you so much, Jessie. We would love to have you back in the future with some updates.
Great. Thank you, Anna, for having me. And by the way, if you have further questions, feel free to email us to ir@ATRenew.com. And we have our information in terms of financials and business overviews available at our IR website as well.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you, Jessie. All right.
Thank you.
Stay with us, everyone. We will be back at 10:15 Eastern with Hilo Corp.